Hello, all of my crafty friends. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Welcome all of you to Pretty Pink Craft Room. I'm excited to be with you today for another crafting session where we will be creating, or I will show you how I created this gift, this anniversary gift. And if you are interested, you may decide to stick around and craft one with me. It's a super simple project, but something that we can always embellish to make even nicer to present to someone else. So I got this idea from Let's Get Scrappy. Tiffany's channel is amazing, of course, and she is now doing a series on card folios. And I had to create a gift for a couple's 40th anniversary, and I didn't want to do a huge mini album that they were just not the type of couple who would be using a mini album like that. So I wanted to condense it and make it something smaller, but still make it something super special for the couple. So this is what I came up with. I'm definitely going to link Tiffany's videos in the description. Her tutorials are much better than mine. I just had to tweak it a little bit because I added an additional embellishment to the card folio. So this is the box that I created to go with it, and if you stick around at the end of the video, I will show you how super simple it is to create the box as well. So I made a box for it to go inside, and I'll definitely, you know, tie ribbon on it and put a tag on it or something to that effect. And when you open it up, this is the tag I created, and I'm gonna write on the back of it. Left some room on the back for me to write on it. And this is the actual card folio. So I'll put that to the side. So I used some leftover papers that I had from Graphic 45. They had a line called, I think it was called P.S. I Love You. So I used their line to create this little card folio mini album, really mini album. It's only room for maybe about, I would say maybe about 6 pictures or even less. So it is something very small and less intimidating for people who don't want to do a full photo album. So I did use some of my dies. These flowers are using the die cut from Scrap Diva Designs. I really love this flower die cut. The design of it was really cool, and I just made it black and white to match the card. And then this is from some number dies that I already had in my stash. I don't even remember where I got them from, but these are just some number dies that I put on there because it is their 40th. So I tied it down with tulle, black and white tulle. And then on the inside, again, this is how Tiffany shows you in her videos. She always has this this flap here where you can add a photo on the back there. And then I just put a pocket going this way, and then I put a photo mat on the inside like so to add a photo there. But the pockets are gusseted, so there is room to add maybe another photo inside there and still not make it too bulky. So there's a pocket there, and then when you open it in the middle, this is what I added in addition to and there's just leftover strings of paper here, but this is what I added in addition to Tiffany's design, which is why I had to adjust the measurements a little bit, and I'll show you how I did it. But again, if you want to keep it super simple, I will definitely link her video in the description below so that you can use her guide to create something even simpler. So in the middle, I made an easel. So this actually lifts up, and then it sits like so, and it just creates this look where you can have a photo standing up if you so choose, like so. And this, I added a frame with a window, and so the photo can go on this background, and then it easily slips inside this little pocket here. And it says happy anniversary. That's some lettering of dies that I had in my stock. And again, it sits up like so, but this is a pocket underneath as well. You can fold that up, and there's a pocket here, and then I did another photo mat that I'm having difficulty pulling out, but I did another photo mat here, and of course there's room to even add a little bit more there as well. And then this all folds down, And then on the right side, you're just doing the same thing you did on the left side with the flap here and the pocket. And that's pretty much it. It's a very simple, straightforward design, but still something super cute that you can give to someone else. And it makes a really lovely gift, I think, for a couple who just want to save or preserve maybe a couple pictures together of their 40th, and they want to keep it all secure in like maybe a box like this. I think they'll really enjoy that gift. So if this is something you're interested in making, I hope you will stick around and craft with me. To create the base of the project, you will need 3 sheets of paper, base paper. And I've done some pre-cutting and pre-scoring to kind of move the video along, but I will repeat the measurements to make sure that it's easier to follow along as well. So for the left side, this is a piece that measures 6 by 6 3/4. Again, it's 6 by 6 3/4. And all I've done is I've scored at a 1/2 inch and then 1 inch. So I'm going to fold these down and burnish them. So this is just my left piece, and I've just folded it to create this look here. Then in the middle is just a regular 6 by 6 piece of paper, and I'm just going to now attach these two together. This is a really good project I've discovered that I can make. You know how there's projects where you can make them, but you can't glue everything down because you need to put down the design paper first, and so some of it you can glue down and sometimes you can't. But this is one that I've discovered you can glue everything together and still you'll have the appropriate areas left for where you can make your design paper attached to it too. So I'll show you what I mean as we make it together. So I just attached the left and the middle together. So for the right side, I need a piece of paper or a piece that measures 6 by 6 7/8. Again, it's 6 by 6 7/8. And on the 6 7/8 side, I am scoring at 1/2 inch and then 7/8 of an inch. I am trying to give myself a 3/8 of an inch gusset here. So that's why I did 1/2 inch and 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and fold and crease these down. And I am using 65-pound cardstock. I would much prefer to use a heavier weight cardstock, but I don't have it on supply right now, so I end up matting my projects with several pieces of paper, which adds more weight and more sturdiness to the project. But again, if you're not, of course, into matting like that, I would definitely recommend using a heavier weight cardstock to just make the project not feel so flimsy, but feel more sturdy. Okay, so on this 1/2 inch flap, I'm just going to attach it to the base here. Just lining it up and attaching it down, making sure everything is even. And I'm a little crooked. I'm just trying to make sure I can line it up right. I think that's better. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. All right, excess glue. Okay, so now we have our base all put together, and so as you can see, this now opens up and you have a 1/2 inch gusset on this side and a 3/8 inch gusset on this side. And again, I had to make my gussets a bit bigger because I added that easel in there, so it needed to have more space inside the project. So that is pretty much the base, and now you can really choose how you want to design it on the inside. There's many different options, and I think even Tiffany gives you even more options of what you can do with the base. So there's freeness for that too. So for the left side, I have a pocket here, and this pocket is measuring 7 by 4 inches, 7 by 4 inches, and all I did was score at 1/2 of an inch all on the 3 sides. So I'm going to now miter these edges. And then crease these down. And I don't mind securing this pocket in here because even the paper that goes underneath, I can slip it under there and I would be fine with that. So I'm perfectly fine with going ahead and adding this pocket to the project and just letting it be there. But for some reason, this pocket seems a bit bigger than what it needs to be. Okay, one moment, I must have did some error in my pre-cutting. So let me go ahead and correct that and I'll be right back. Okay, I made that adjustment. I'm not sure how I got off on my measurements there, but I made that adjustment. So because everything should be even from top to bottom and the pocket just goes, has the insert on the left-hand side there. So let me go ahead and add the glue. And then we can go ahead and add it down onto the project here. Okay, so again, I'm just lining it up top to bottom, avoiding the score line on the right here so that everything still folds and lays evenly all around. Okay, so again, I don't mind adding the pocket before, oh, and I didn't give this time to dry. I don't mind adding the pocket now because when I am ready to add my design paper or whatever paper I choose, I can just slip it underneath here and I'll be fine with that. So, but if that's not your preference, then of course you can leave the pocket off. Just do the measurements for it and attach it. And when you're ready, you can just actually glue it down to the base project. So then I add the flap here, and this flap measures 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. Actually, let's correct that. It should be 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. I call myself just doing all of this prep work to make sure, excuse me, that I don't miss things, but I always tend to do that. So it's 4 1/4 by 3 3/4, and you're scoring 1/2 of an inch on the 3 3/4 side. So you're scoring 1/2 of an inch here, and then you're going to fix it to the base like so. So I'll add the glue here. And then we'll just add it. And I'm just eyeballing it. I can use my mat here to kind of give me more guidance as to how far I want to come down from the top. That's always a good idea, but you can also actually measure it just to make sure you're even or that you're in line with where you want to be on the left. So that is the left side, and we're going to do the same exact thing on the right side, doing the pocket and the flap on the right side, and then we'll come back and we will do the middle part here as well. So I've added the right side and did the same exact thing that we did on the left, added the pocket and added the little flap here. So they're identical, and that's the base of this part here. So now let's work on doing our easel and our pocket for the middle. For the middle section, we're doing a pocket and an easel. And what we have to be mindful of is that we have to cut our paper a little narrower than the 6 inches to allow for the project to fold without any resistance or any buckling or anything like that. So for the bottom pocket, it needs to be a little less than 7 inches by 3 1/2. So the technical measurement is 6 15/16 by 3 1/2. So it's just a little less than the 7-inch mark. You're coming a little bit narrower. And then this is 3 1/2 on this edge here, and then you're scoring 1/2 of an inch on all 3 sides. I hope that makes sense. But again, you're just trying to cut it a little less than the full 6 inches to avoid any resistance on those gusset lines or those score lines. You want to make sure everything is folding and that there is no resistance, as I said. So now when you add this here, you're just a little shy of those score lines and everything should fold in properly. So I'll go ahead and add the glue here. And now this can go lined up with the bottom and then in between the score lines, and everything should line up properly. There we go. Okay. Great. So now you have your pocket at the bottom here and the opening, and now you can do the easel. Now the easel is super simple to add on here. So for the base of the easel, you just need a sheet that again is a little less than 6 inches. So it would be technically 5 and 15/16 of an inch, but just a little less than 6 by 5 3/4 of an inch. So again, a little less than 6 by 5 3/4 of an inch. On the 5 3/4 of an inch side, you're scoring at 1/2 of an inch and 3 1/2, 1/2 of an inch and 3 1/2. So you're going to fold all those score lines down. I folded the top 1/2 inch flap down, and I'm folding the second one down as well. And so you end up with this shape here. All of them are folded down. And I'm just going to attach this 1/2 inch flap to the top of my base here. Okay, just lining everything up, making sure it's even, and that goes down. Okay, so now you have attached the actual easel mechanism to the base, and so this part here is where you will attach your actual framing for your picture. So this is a sheet that measures 4 1/2 by 6, and I am just going to attach it just on this bottom section here. I'm going to add the glue just on this bottom section here, and then line it up at the bottom with this top sheet like so. So we can go ahead and add the glue here. And then I'm going to attach this sheet and line it up exactly on the bottom here. And like so. So let me go ahead and give that glue time to adhere. And get some of this excess glue off. Okay, so now you have this sheet here, and when you stand it up against the top of that pocket, and now it becomes an easel that can stand up in the folio itself. So that is pretty much the base, the entire project itself. So as I mentioned, this is why I'm saying that, you know, you can create this whole thing and just have several of these in your stash. And when you're ready to add the paper to it, you add the paper to it. You don't have to do it immediately, but you'll notice that all these areas I can add the paper without any problems, or not having to finagle things or scoot things or what have you. I can lay all of this down and still have the room for adding the paper later. So that's pretty much the base of it. And then it closes like so. So now I will show you how I made the box for it to go inside. To create the box, I had to use measurements that would fit my specific project. So I wanted to go over with you really quickly how I determined those measurements, so that if your project is of a different size, it may not be the 6 by 6 project that I have here. It may be something of a different size. Then you can at least know the process that you would need to go through in order to create the box to fit whatever you have. So this project again measures the 6 inches, but if you notice on this side it's a little bit wider because of the tool. So I knew I had to make the box a little bit wider to allow for this to fit inside. For the 6 inches going up and down, I want to leave a little 1/8 of an inch so that it fits into the bottom. I left an 1/8 of an inch here, and then on this side I went to 6.5 and then did another 1/8 of an inch to again allow for it to fit inside the box. I hope that makes sense. So for the bottom, this is a sheet that's measuring 8 1/8 by 8.5, 8 1/8 by 8.5. And all I did was I scored 1 full inch all the way around. And that is based on how high you want your edges to be. So for example, this is the bottom of the box that I originally created, and I knew I wanted these panels on the side to be pretty high. I wanted them to be a full inch because I want the project to not only sit inside, but for it to lay and there still be a little bit of room in case someone wanted to add a little bit more inside the box. So again, it is about preference, but if this is the same size you want to make it with those full inch panels on all 4 sides, then this is what you would do. So once you score it, just moving that out of the way. Again, this is my bottom, and again it measures 8 1/8 by 8.5, and I scored 1 inch on all 4 sides. So once you do that, you're just going to do some cutting, and I'm just going to cut on this score line all the way up until it intersects with the other one. And I'm making flaps here. And once you cut, then you're going to angle cut on that flap, not on the base part here, but on the flap here. I'm just going to angle cut, and there's really no measurement for this. You just cutting out and angled so that it folds over as a flap. So then it ends up looking like that. And then you do the same thing on the left hand side, and you're cutting it into a flap, and now it looks like this. Then you rotate and do the same exact thing on the next side. So I cut up to that score line meets, and then I angle cut here on the flap on the right side, and then I angle cut here on the left side. And then I'm going to rotate and do the same exact thing. Cutting on the score line, and then I angle cut on the flap, and then I angle cut on the flap again. One side and then the other side. And then I have one more left. And do the same thing. And then angle cut and angle cut. For some reason I'm not cutting all the way up there to get this all the way off. So let me see if I can fix that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so then you end up with your piece looking like this, and you have all of these flaps here that will be used to secure the box all together. So I'm just going to fold and crease all of these lines here, and then I'll show you how we'll glue it all together. So now that I've creased all of these score lines together, you can kind of see the way it's going to all fit together. You just adding glue onto these little flaps here, and then securing it against the sides like so. And sometimes you may have to hold the glue together a little while to give it time to adhere. So you're doing the same exact thing on all 4 sides, and then lining it up evenly like so, and letting the box form. And again, this is where I would really recommend, if you have the heavier weight cardstock, to use that. I have a little flap here. I'm just trying to cut that off. Because you definitely don't want the box to feel flimsy. And you want it to feel more sturdy and that it held up better and not fall apart. I mean, I don't think it'll fall apart, but I just like things to feel more sturdier and not so flimsy. But Again, I'm just using what I have on stock, and then I can always mat this to make it sturdier as well. So this is the bottom. So now that we've glued all these flaps together, again, I'll bring in the old one that I did, and you can see how it fits nicely into the bottom of the box here. Now for the top of the box, if you want your box to overhang over the bottom, then you need to make it 1/8 of an inch bigger than what you made the bottom. So it needs to be able to fit securely on top of it. So it needs to be 1/8 of an inch bigger. Also, you need to determine how big you want your side panels to be. I wanted mine to be 3/4 of an inch because I did not want it to cover this full inch panel here. I wanted to leave a little bit of a gap here to make it easier to pull it off and pull it on. So I needed to make sure I had a 3/4 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch bigger than the bottom. So overall, this sheet for the top measures 7 3/4 of an inch by 8 1/8. Again, it's 7 3/4 of an inch by 8 1/8. And I scored at 3/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. So 3/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. And then I'm going to do the same exact thing that we did on the bottom. I'm just going to cut and then angle cut these flaps like so. And I'll do that on all 4 sides. And then I'll be back and we'll put it all together. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and glued down my panels, glued down those flaps on all 4 sides, and then the side panels are 3/4 of an inch, and this becomes the top of my box. So if I bring back in my bottom, then you should find that everything should just fit snugly on top of each other like so, but still leave enough room for if you have extra things that you want to add inside. And again, because I made my top flap 3/4 of an inch and the bottom 1 inch, it makes it easier for that top to be lifted off the bottom. So if you bring back in the old project, you can see that it fits here, and then this goes right on top of it, and it's ready to be decorated. And that's it. So again, I hope that this was at least a little bit inspirational for you, something that you may want to follow along with and do for yourself. Like I said in the beginning, I will link Tiffany's channel and her playlist into the description box in case you want to follow along with her. But this gives you another option of what you can do to, if you want to make an actual element to the folio, a pop-up element like the easel, you can certainly do that. And then there's many other options of what you can do with the project as well. So once again, thank you all so much for joining me on my channel today. I hope everything was clear and easy to follow. If not, please don't hesitate to leave any questions in my in the comments, and I'll be sure to address them and respond to them as soon as possible. Thank you all so much for all of your support, and until next time, I hope to craft with you very, very soon. Take care. Bye.